Hello everybody and welcome to Against the Fence, where of course you know this is the place to be if you're obsessed and passionate about the UFC, and we're back again with another aftermath show for you guys. UFC 300 was an absolute blast, wasn't it? And of course we're going to be unpacking all the events from this past weekend. We're going to be talking about whether or not Bo Nickal's perfect opponent, what's next for him, and of course his perfect ideal matchup in the rankings should he get that opportunity. We'll also talk about whether or not Tsarukyan should wait out for Islam Makhachev or should he take another fight. We'll talk about Alex Pereira's next test at light heavyweight, and we'll talk about whether or not Max Holloway should stay at 155 pounds or should he drop back down to 145 and fight Ilia Topuria. So lots to unpack, of course. Stick around, hit that like button on the video, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Lots to go through. I've got a few questions to go through, judging from this past weekend's prelims. Only a few. Diogo Lopez is insane performance against Sodiq Yusuff. Now, it's a bit of a tough fight, really, to watch. Because, of course, if you're a friend of the channel and you've seen Sodiq on our watch-alongs before, he's tuned in. We've had a Q&A with him before. And, you know, we built a bit of a relationship with him. Especially, you know, Ash has been DMing him a few times as well. And Diogo Lopez was in our ones to watch as well for 2024. So it's a difficult fight to watch. It surprised us because he got that TKO victory. It wasn't something we expected. We thought he was going to submit Sodiq if he was going to win. So look, what can this guy, or what can't this guy do, is the question really. And do you think he will get matched up against Movsar Evloev? Will there be a rematch down the line because he took that fight originally on short notice? But if he was to pick an opponent for him that wasn't Evloev, it would probably be somebody just at the bottom of the rankings, because I think he's down in at number 13 now. So I would probably give him, we said at the watch along, we'd rather give him Bryce Mitchell, bit of a heavy wrestler as well. Let's give him for a bit more of a grappling orientated fighter. Or you could give him someone like a Calvin Kattar, of course, because timing would match up. So I don't know what you guys would think about that. Moving swiftly on, let's talk about Kayla Harrison for a brief second. Should she fight for the belt next is the question here. Or do you guys think that she'll fight someone like a Ketlen Vieira? Whilst maybe a Juliana Pena gets the crack at Raquel Pennington instead. Personally, I think the UFC would want to put Kayla Harrison in that spot first because she's a former judoka, of course, PFL champion as well. Bit more hype around her. She's the shiny new toy of the division. So, you know, why would you not give it to Kayla Harrison, right? Just beat a former champion in Holly Holm. I think it sells tickets in a lot of ways. But it depends, I think, perhaps on the healthiness of Juliana Pena. I think Pena's she's getting better at selling fights a little bit. She's a little bit cringy, I must admit. But, you know, I think people will want to tune in to watch her get beat, I think, anyway. So that's why I think maybe perhaps she would be next in line for Pennington. And I think the UFC could be in the process of putting that fight together at the moment. So timing wise, I think Pennington's got to be due to come back pretty soon. So, you know, which would be a shame for Kayla Harrison to miss out. But to fight someone like Ketlen Vieira, I think would be no slouch because she's coming off of a win as well. As you can, well, she's in at number 2 in the rankings. Kayla Harrison's slotted in at number 4. Vieira's coming off of that win against Pani Kianzad. So, yeah, I think strength will be against strength in that one should that fight get matched up. Moving on to Aljamain Sterling. Alright performance against Calvin Kattar. Looked pretty good at featherweight for his first fight. But should he get someone like a Yair Rodriguez or a Brian Ortega next? All depends there. Because, I mean, he's a former champion, so why would you not pair him up against either of those two as a fight night headliner? That's all I'm going to say. on that matter, I think we should go. There we go, says Breezy. Yes, we are back. We are back indeed. I actually did 20 minutes of the show, and without actually realising. So, so that's why I'm a little bit speedy compared to usual, guys. But thanks for sticking by. And, of course, don't forget to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button on the video as well then. So let's recap some of the events from this past weekend, shall we? Heading on in then to the main card where Bo Nickal picked up the win against Cody Brundage, moves to 6-0, but wasn't impressed by his performance, and I think that kind of in a way shows the level of drive that this guy has, and he's willing to be successful in this sport. He seemed to struggle to find the neck against Cody in this first round, but look, he still got a finish nonetheless, and I think he was a little bit annoyed because he wanted to maintain that first round finish streak of his. But look, things happen, man. You're going to get tested down the line. You're going to come up against tougher opponents who won't kind of give up and will kind of try and survive for as long as possible. And that's kind of what Cody Brundage was doing in that first round. Yes, it was a complete domination from Bo Nickal, but the question coming into this then is, what's the most winnable fight for Bo in the top 15? Should the UFC kind of fast track him? Because, I think Chael Sonnen leading into UFC 300 was kind of questioning whether or not the UFC will fast track him, and should it be against someone like a Sean Strickland perhaps. But as we know now that Sean Strickland's now fighting Paulo Costa, and that fight will happen at UFC 302. So I don't think they will fast track him that far. I think perhaps they will edge him in gradually. But, Bo could turn around and be a little bit humble in a way and go, look, I don't really want to be fast tracked. I would want to build myself up gradually and fight the fights which I think are pretty necessary for me. And look, you kind of can't really knock him for doing that. The guy wants to clearly be a champion someday, and he's willing to take the necessary steps in order to do that. So if we look at the rankings then, because nothing's really changed other than Chris Curtis dropping down to one spot, what would be the most winnable fight then at the bottom for Bo? Looking at that now, you'd probably say that it would be Paul Craig, because he's had tough times at the moment. He's, I think, what was it? One win in his last 5. No, one win in his last 4. But of course, if he loses to Carbarello, then yeah, it'll be one win in his last 5. Bit of a slippery slope for someone like Bo Nickal, it'd be the ideal kind of ranking to take, wouldn't it? But it's a difficult fight for Bo, because we know how slick Paul Craig is off of his back, and Bo likes to get the fight to the mat. He likes to take the back and threaten the rear naked choke. And, if Paul Craig is able to defend the back take and remain on his back, then maybe he can threaten Bo with an arm bar or a triangle choke like we've seen in the past against former champions. Like Jamal Hill, for an example, or like Magomed Ankalaev. So, and for Paul Craig to take a fight against Bo Nickal, you got to think, well, look, he's clearly the hype man. I get to end that hype train. I get to prove to the UFC that I've still got it, and I'm still capable of beating absolutely anybody that you give me. So, on paper, it's probably not the best, wouldn't be the best matchup for Paul Craig. And if he was to get absolutely dominated by Carl Borrello, and if Borrello perhaps submits Craig, then, Bo's going to be a huge favourite in that fight. He really would be. So, only time will tell, of course. But other than that, that would be the only option that you would probably give Bo. Unless you give him someone like Chris Curtis. But, I mean, Chris Curtis's game is as they come, and I can't see them giving Bo Chris. Chris is slick on the feet. All right, he got taken down a few times against Brendan Allen. I think something was up there, because usually Chris Curtis's takedown defense is on point. So, and I think, I don't know, Chris Curtis should be chasing for other things. So that would be my take for that. My option for Cody Brundage. Yes, Red Wolf. Hey, man, sorry I'm late. No, mate. Better late than never, brother. Better late than never. Smack a like on the video, my man. And, of course, let us know who you want to see Bo Nickal fight next. The option for Cody Brundage. Now, I originally put Phil Hawes on my list because both guys are only got 2 wins on their last 6. However, I've only just noticed that Phil Hawes has been cut by the UFC. So you got to think that perhaps maybe Cody Brundage is due to be cut. If they do decide to give him another chance, then maybe it'll be against someone like an Albert Duraev, bit of a wrestler himself. I don't know who else they would give him, because I mean he's like, I think Tapology rank him as like 52 in the world, so it's quite far down. Or you would probably give him someone like a Dustin Stolfus or a Dusko Todorovic, if Todorovic hasn't been cut, because he's coming off of a loss against Chris Leroy Duncan. So yeah, that would be my options for Cody Brundage, but who knows indeed. But let's move swiftly on then to the second night of the fight, which was probably arguably one of the most exciting fights on paper, which was Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. And Arman Tsarukyan faced adversity and somehow pulled through in that fight. And he fought probably Charles Oliveira at his best in a way, because it was so close to call. You know, he was sort of vintage. It was almost reminiscent of the Ortega versus Volkanovski fight in that first round with that guillotine choke. But look, I think Tsarukyan kind of put Oliveira on his back a little bit and didn't give Oliveira an opportunity to get back to his feet. He landed that nasty elbow, which I think was in round 2, which cut him and did damage and won round 2 and 3. You know, you could ask yourself now, is it enough of a win to grant a match against the winner of Islam Makhachev or Dustin Poirier? If we go into the rankings now, lots has moved. Arman Tsarukyan is now the number 1 guy. So if you're Tsarukyan, do you hold it down and wait out for that opportunity, or do you take another fight, or will the UFC force you to take another fight? Because, of course, who knows what's going to happen between Islam and Dustin Poirier. Apparently, Arman Tsarukyan came out and said after the fight that Hunter Campbell, and this is something we touched upon last night in the news show, he was offered the Islam fight, but he turned it down. I think, I don't know if you call it BS or not, really. It seemed believable, but to be honest, what kind of annoys me about that is the UFC just trying to force fights down people's necks when they've literally just gone through a stressful training camp, a stressful fight, the thrill of getting the win after. The last thing you want to think about necessarily is the next move. I mean, some fighters, of course, will call people out, by all means, but they wanted to get him back in June. Like next month, right? Not next month, 2 months' time. So, like, come on, hold a minute. Give a guy a break. Let him rest up. And he was like, no, I'm not going to be ready for the 1st of June. Maybe by the end of June, but of course they're not going to do that because that slot's already been taken by McGregor and Chandler headlining. So, look, I think the UFC was originally going to plan for the Poirier fight. I really do. That would be my call. Yes, Taylor Young, how are we all doing? He says, yes, mate. Taylor Young, I'm doing good. Arnold Allens was doing all right. And, of course, we've got Dude Bronze in the house as well. He says, I was disappointed in Oliveira's performance. Didn't show the same aggression we've seen in the past. And he seemed content staying on his back, limiting the ground and pound. Yeah, that was pretty much it, really. And, you know, what's kind of bugged me in that fight with Oliveira is why didn't he kind of try to attack the leg a lot? Because, you know, I think one of Oliveira's best performances was against Kevin Lee. Because Kevin Lee put Oliveira on his back. But Oliveira was able to create space and attack the leg lock and use it to threaten it and get back to his feet. So, look, I think that's what Oliveira should have done in that fight if he wanted. And the best part about it is he would have had better success on the feet. So it comes down to Oliveira's just management, really, and of course it's easier said than done. But we'll see what's next for Oliveira. Yes, my man, Rambling Down MMA podcast. Let's go, brother. Let's get some future prediction fight-wise for you guys. Get in the chat, smash a like on the video, and let's hear your thoughts. We got CWB who says, right, lads, what's next for Olives, Gaethje, Garbrandt? Woo! Yeah, for Oliveira, we'll start with Oliveira then, and then we'll move on. Well, can we kind of touch upon Tsarukyan? I think he's just going to wait out for the winner of Makhachev or Poirier. I don't think he's going to take a match up next. But for Oliveira, I think he's going to fight Mateusz Gamrot. That would be my next option. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He's coming off of the win against Rafael dos Anjos. He's a great scrambler on the ground, which makes this fight even more intriguing. But can Oliveira control him on the ground is the question for that fight. Or is this the fight that Oliveira needs to dictate things on the feet more? You know? Because, look, I think Oliveira can grab the body lock, get trips on Gamrot. That probably would be his best opportunity to get Gamrot down. If Gamrot wants to employ that chain wrestling, I personally think Oliveira can actually get back to his feet a lot better. If Beneil Dariush can do it, so can Charles Oliveira. So that would be a fight that I would favour Oliveira in. Okay, I think it would be a perfect opportunity. And look, you know, Gamrot, I think it would be a decent fight for him to challenge up the top of the rankings, because a guy that he beat with a split decision is now the number 1 ranked guy. So look, he's going to be hungry for blood in there, and I think that fight makes a lot of sense. Taylor Young says they might make Oliveira Gaethje 2, but I'm worried about Gaethje going forward. Yeah, me too, man. It also crossed my mind, but you know, we saw it not too long ago. But that fight does kind of make a lot of sense, and I'm with you in a way. That was a bad knockout for Gaethje. Yeah, maybe perhaps we don't rush Gaethje back anytime soon. Maybe we'll see him early next year, I would say. Red Wolf says, I feel even though Dubronx lost the split, his stock still went up. I think they could make Charles versus Justin 2. So he's on board with that as well. Sai says first decision Oliveira had since 2020. That's a not bad stat as well, 4 years. Yeah, okay. Breezy says, like the video if you haven't already. It helps us more than you know. Absolutely. Good stuff, Breezy. Good call, of course. And yeah, hit the subscribe button because we're a fan channel where fan opinions matter most. And yeah, I think that's pretty much sums up fight number 2 on the main card there. Gamrot or Justin Gaethje next for Charles Oliveira. Let's move on then let's go back to the third fight of the night, which was the absolute shocker that occurred. The fact that I still can't believe that Max did that right at the last 10 seconds of the fight. He controlled the fight throughout, really. You know, there were some close rounds, don't get me wrong, but the fact that he landed that spinning back kick, which shattered Gaethje's nose early on in the fight, really kind of cemented his place for the rest of the fight in a way, you know. Gaethje was pretty much compromised from, round 2 onwards. But the fact that Holloway risked it all in those last 10 seconds, despite being up on the judges' scorecards, because he was, 2 judges had the first 3 rounds to Holloway, actually. So, one judge, I think, had it 2-2, which was quite bizarre. Again, we got to look at judges here and point fingers, I'm afraid, and see what's going wrong. But, you know, such a ballsy move, and the reactions from everyone were absolutely electric. In HQ, with Breezy in the house, with Moddy in the house, we was all going absolute mental. And look, I mean, what a night. Probably one of the best reactions up there. Breezy says, do Bronx versus do Bronze next, I think. I'm with you on that. Taylor says Ash is too big. Taylor Young says, I told you all Max would cater him. I don't know, man. Look, would you say that that's Max's best performance to date? It's kind of one thing I've been wondering. Because, I don't know. It's hard to tell. In a way, I want to say it's the Calvin Kattar one. It was a single-handedly performance, you know, throughout, in a way. But the Gaethje one, however, against tougher competition, maybe a bit more of a closely contested fight, you could argue there that was his best performance. But, I mean, on the other hand, you would say maybe his greatest accomplishment could also be his best performance against Aldo back-to-back. So, it's hard to tell, Just when you think the UFC might try and, I wouldn't say push Max out, but give him opportunities against up-and-coming guys, and you'd expect him to fall short, like on Arnold Allen. He's really kind of rose to the occasion, which is kind of crazy in a way. Taylor Young says the last 10 seconds of the fight is now my favorite UFC moment ever. Wow. Man, I don't know. I'd hardly I got to disagree personally, but that's only for reasons because I'm a massive GSP fan. Breezy says, Ilya, it's the only one I want. I will fly to Spain. Give me a camera. CWB says you could argue Brian / Cater was the best performance. Yeah, both of those almost are on par really in terms of performance wise for Holloway, because he did absolutely dominate both of those. Red Wolf says judges are crazy, man. 4-1 by the end of that 5th round. That moment will stay with MMA fans forever. One of the best performances. Taylor Young says the context behind this makes this performance even better. He was so doubted and moved up against the hardest hitting lightweight. Wow, that's a good point there from Taylor Young. It is very true. Odds were stacked against him, and yeah, when you look at the Calvin Kattar fight and the Brian Ortega fight, it was probably favourite in those ones. So yeah, good point there from Taylor. Got to agree with you there. Excellent stuff in the chat so far, guys. Keep them coming. Keep questions coming as well. But the ultimate question I've got now for you guys to answer is, what is the option for Max Holloway now? A lot of you think that he should drop down to 145 and wait out for Ilia Topuria, because, that fight on paper is insane. The last Aftermath show, we were just talking about that maybe Sean O'Malley versus Ilia Topuria is the next big fight to make, because on paper that would sell. It's champion versus champion, and it's two fighters in this modern era going at it. But now we're looking at the Max Holloway option, and we're going, well, both guys have got really slick boxing. Both prove that they've got knockout power now, so that should really be the next option. But I want to throw another one in there, because look, you could also say that maybe Max should stick around at 145 and put his name in the hat to fight Islam Makhachev, seeing as though he just beat the number one guy in Gaethje. Gaethje was going to get that title fight if timing was able to marry up. But what if Max decides another option? Because if Conor McGregor was to lose to Michael Chandler in June, then you would do Holloway versus McGregor for the BMF belt. Is that an option? Right? At lightweight? Could you make Conor cut down to lightweight again? I mean, look, I was saying this last night. I don't think that it's possible for Conor to cut back down to lightweight because he's a big boy now. Would Max follow him up to one, or would they have to do a catchweight? They could probably do a catchweight at 165. BMF, bosh. It's doable, because the BMF title doesn't really, you don't have a weight class for that necessarily. Right? That's all I'm going to say. I think it's possible. I would love to see that fight, that rematch. But what would you guys rather see? Max fight Ilia Topuria, Max fight Islam Makhachev, or Max fight Conor McGregor in a rematch, which has been one in the making? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's get some chats then. El Capitano's in the house, who says, what's up, fellas? What's up, El Capitano? Hit that like button, buddy, and let's hear your opinions. Red Wolf says, I'd like to see him go back to featherweight and face Ilya, who generally looked shocked at the ending, but he could be seeing a new Max at lightweight. Be so interesting to see what happens. Yeah, I know. That's the thing here. The problem that we've got, because if Max looks good at lightweight at the moment, do we really want to see him deplete his body and go back down to 145 where perhaps maybe he's not got as much power? I mean, all right, Yes, he did finish Chen Sanjong, but in impressive fashion, granted. But, after beating Gaethje, someone like Gaethje, you kind of want to see more of Max at that weight class. So it's difficult to decide. CWB reckons Max versus Fiziev. I'd love to see it. Yeah, man. I mean, Fiziev's got some solid kickboxing, and got great movement as well. That's a difficult one. It's a real difficult one to call. But yeah, no, I like your option. Thinking outside of the box here. El Capitano saying Raf in the building again. Yes, Raf, good to see you. Taylor Young, Max can do whatever he wants. I think if Conor wins, they do Max versus Conor versus BMF. Well, yeah, I guess that's one way of looking at it, of course. Because out of all of those options, what's going to get you the most money? Of course, it's going to be Conor McGregor. So if you're Max, do you keep training and wait to see what happens in June? Perhaps. But the thing is the only option with that, the only problem with that is if Conor beats Chandler, does Conor then want to fight or challenge for the lightweight belt? Although the Chandler fight is at welterweight, I do think that Conor wants to be a champion still. I really do. I think there's still fire there for him. Otherwise, why are you still fighting? It's believed to be said, it's down. I think his coaches and people in Ireland have said that he's still very determined and hungry in this game. He's had some unfortunate circumstances gone his way. But I don't know, man. Things could very much open up that way. He could very well fight Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira has been open to fighting Conor McGregor. That's another option in there. Should Conor beat Chandler? Because if he gets matched up with Max, does that really put you in a potential title fight at lightweight? I don't know. There's a lot to consider here, guys. El Capitano wants to see Max versus Islam would be incredible. Good, solid option there. CW says the champ versus champ shouldn't be done unless either guys have 3 title defenses. Max. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. True. See what you're thinking there. El Capitano says, but I think Ilia Topuria got some great skills against Max. Yeah. Fiziev versus Gaethje will bang. Oh, we've already seen it, so Gaethje beat him. Raise the roof for Raf. Red Wolf says, yeah, would love to see Max and Conor rematch. Years in the making, and the storyline writes itself. It really does. A lot has happened during that time. I think Max was like, what was it? Was it Max's first fight in the UFC? He was like proper young then, and evolved into this absolute monster. So I think it's a closer fight. And not to forget, in that fight, Conor blew his knee out and resorted to grappling against Max. So we didn't really see too much on the feet. Taylor Young says they might eventually do Max versus Dustin again. History. Yeah. If Dustin is champion, Conor fights him. Oh, mate. Do you think? You think we actually get that rematch? I mean, look, Dustin's not going to say no, is he? You got a good point there. But I think we're all going to write out Dustin Poirier, aren't we? Also have Max versus Charles. Oof. And the rematch there. There's lot to unpack in this division. Oh my god. CWB says, we've been following each other on Twitter for a while. I'd love to do a show with you. Always going to tune in to the lives, bro. Hit me up, hit me up on Twitter, man. We can sort that out because there's a lot of ideas in the ATF clan at the moment. I'm in the process of putting together a group discussion piece of content that we could very well do the Sunday before pay-per-views, but we'll see. There's a lot of things I want to iron out at the moment. So look, yeah, man, get in touch, keep talking, and we can sort this out. Red Wolf I talk to a lot as well on the channel, and he's keen to get involved as well. So maybe we can get a group thing going on. It'd be pretty sick, bro. Absolutely, all for it, man. All for it. So look, I haven't even gone into the rankings yet on this page. Yeah, we're on to lightweight. Lots of movements. I mean, we did touch upon it, I guess, didn't we? Moicano moving up was a good one. He called out Benil Dariush, which was quite interesting. So maybe he doesn't want the Paddy Pimblett fight. just to chuck in there. But what's next for Justin Gaethje then? Difficult to call, of course, because he is coming off a loss like that. Probably should get some good time out. Yes, George Merry, good evening, brother JK, he says. Good evening, sir. How are you doing, brother? And I love the picture, of course, the DP with our boy Modestus Bukauskas there. Taylor Young says Max should be bare minimum top 5. Absolutely. Who should Dustin's first title defense be if he were to win against Islam? Yeah, and I think maybe it could be Conor McGregor though. Yeah, I mean it opens up so many doors if Dustin wins that fight, doesn't it? I mean it could still very well be Tsarukyan, who's the number 1 guy at the end of the day. Or does Justin Gaethje fight Arman Tsarukyan? Because the UFC could force that matchup for both guys. If Tsarukyan is waiting a little while, I think they'll try it, but I don't think Tsarukyan's gonna want to take it, because that would be the ultimate fight, right? The redemption fight for Justin Gaethje to get his title shot back. And if Dustin was to beat Islam, then surely you want to do Gaethje versus Poirier 3. They're 1-1 at the moment. So all of a sudden, this matchup's pulling out of everywhere, guys. We've got so many different scenarios. Like, imagine having the time stone right now and just reliving all of these scenarios. Like, we were just sending into an MMA Marvel movie right now. Like, Secret Wars, but MMA style. I think we got to sort this out. Like, there's going to be ultimate different... And look, Loki's the timekeeper at the end of the day. Like, I'm going off tangent here. Taylor Young says he's higher in pound for pound rankings than he is in lightweight rankings. That is quite funny. That's bizarre. You've seen it patch that up. Taylor Young says, would Islam get the rematch against Dustin? Yeah, that's true. Oh, I don't know. Because if he beats Poirier, does he tie Khabib's record, or has he already tied Khabib's record? Because there's arguments to be, if he beats Khabib's record, there's arguments to be made there, because the title defense record is very small at lightweight. And often in the past, if you rack up X amount of title defenses, you deserve an immediate rematch should you lose your belt. So, oh wait, hold on. I think I just had it there. He's had 2 title defenses. So he will match Khabib's record if he beats Poirier. So maybe not. Maybe he doesn't get an immediate rematch. Or maybe he does because he's quite popular in various regions of the world. That's what I'm going to say. Too many options, Matt. Yeah, mate, this is giving me an aneurysm in a minute. George Murray says, Kayla beats Home, goes to 4th. Holloway beats Justin and is 9th. Make it make sense. True. But here's the thing, though, because I was listening to Anakin Florian podcast this morning, and they picked, I think, was it Anakin Florian? So maybe something on Twitter. They picked up on the fact that Max isn't ranked at lightweight and suggest that maybe Max's next move will be at featherweight, which is the reason why they've not put him in the lightweight rankings. But I'm all for it. I think Max should be in the lightweight rankings. He should be in both now after that win. Like, come on. Red Wolf likes the UFC Secret Wars idea. George Murray says Arman back up for 303, even though he couldn't turn it around for it. Maybe they could do that. It's sticky though, isn't it? You know, he's not going to be 100% either way, but, well. Guess you got to cover your back if you're the UFC. Why not? And you probably get some money for it anyways. Doesn't count if it isn't against a lightweight. I'm not sure what he's on about that. Red Wolf says Dustin will be the first lightweight since he beat Oliveira, though. At least Khabib for Justin, Dustin, and Conor. I know that's pretty good resume still. I got you. Yeah, that's true, actually, isn't it? Thinking about it. Yeah. First lightweight title defense for Islam. That's mad. CWB says, didn't Pereira state that he wanted to possibly go back down to middleweight, and if he does, to challenge Dricus? And if so, who wins? Oh, man. I don't think that's a good move for Alex Pereira. I really don't. You know, starting to fill out the light heavyweight. It was too much of a cut anyway for him. It was really depleting his body. I think we would most likely see a heavyweight move instead. Taylor Young says, I don't know if Alex can still make 185. Not me neither. George Murray says, Islam hasn't started his lightweight reign yet. True. Red Wolf says, yeah, Max's ranking 9 doesn't make sense, but keeps him around in lightweight division if he goes down to featherweight. Oh, actually, yeah, sorry, I retract that. I just noticed that. He is ranked at number 9. That's mate, there's too much going on in my brain right now. But yeah, yeah, you're right in that one. It's so weird. Whoever does the rankings, I don't know, man. All right, cool. That was the lightweight division. Let's touch upon then the fourth fight of the night, the co-main event between Weili Zhang and Yan Zhao Nan, because Weili Zhang, man, I think she put on an unbelievable display there. There were moments that kind of had us worrying a little bit in rounds. I think was it 2 or 3. She probably should have got that submission stoppage in the end of first round there. Yan Jinan was definitely out. She probably exerted a lot of energy to try and get that submission, which led to her kind of, conceding a few strikes on the feet in rounds 2 and 3 there against Yan Jinan. But look, this girl can do it all. I think it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be fair. I think Yan Jinan did a really good job against Weili Zhang, but Weili Zhang's just a notch ahead of her, I'm afraid. She moves to 25-3 now. The only real option then for her next is Tatiana Suarez, who's in at number 1 there. Because it's Zhang's toughest test right now. Zhang's cardio could be an important factor in that fight. Suarez has to finish Zhang in this fight. She has to finish her without a doubt. Otherwise, Zhang will comfortably win rounds 3, 4, and 5 in that. So, it's a big one on paper. The undefeated Tatiana Suarez putting her own on the line in a title fight. It's about time. I think we've all been excited to see it for quite a while now, but there's been some issues in Tatiana Suarez's health and personal life, which has kind of led to not get her this opportunity, which is kind of a shame to see. But I think she will get that shot eventually. Jordan Murray saying, and yes, JK, I've spoken to Sai. I know about the rice. But yeah, I think that's the only option for Weili Zhang now. Of course, Jessica Andrade could be an option because she come off a win against Marina Rodriguez. But one thing that I don't get is, why is Amanda Lemos ranked above Jessica Andrade when Jessica Andrade subbed her? The UFC need to do better here. Jessica Andrade should be number 3. She's had an absolute journey, man. It's been insane. But look, Tatiana Suarez is there. She's the number 1 person in my eyes. I barely remember anything from the Weili fight. I zoned out after Max versus Justin until the Pereira fight, says Taylor. To be fair, Taylor, I must admit that the co-main event is a little bit blurred in my mind as well, because things kind of went wow up here, and then they kind of dipped a little bit, and then they went back up again. And especially when we were live for 7 hours as well. Red Wolf says, Taylor, I totally agree, man. He should be at least rank 3, and 9 doesn't make sense at all. As JK says, whoever makes the rankings needs to have a look at that. Mango pudding. Yeah, okay. So basically, this kind of falls into this matchup that we're talking about here, because George Merry and Sai both had a bet on this fight. I think Sai went with Weili. Yeah, of course. Sai went with Weili. George Merry went for Yan Jinan, and the bet was whoever loses has to buy the other person the number 32 on the Chinese menu. And George Merry's going to be buying Sai some mango pudding, apparently. So I can't wait for that to arrive. That'll be quite entertaining. Red Wolf says Weili is a beast and seems unbeatable right now, but Tatiana is the one to make Great matchup. Yeah, she's strong. She's tough. She's, a difficult wrestler to deal with. Yes, Weili has kind of, been working on her wrestling quite a bit recently, and she's looked really good in the scrambles. She's going to need to be very good in the scrambles if she wants to withstand that pressure from Tatiana Suarez and keep the fight on the feet, because she can piece up Suarez on the feet. And like I said, I think Tatiana Suarez has got 2 rounds to get Weili Zhang out of there. If she doesn't do it, she's going to lose a decision. Zhang will take over in 3, 4, and 5, in my opinion. What do you guys reckon? Hit a like button on the video if you're excited for that matchup. And of course, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. As for Weili Zhang, Yan Xiaonan, then, the only option that I've got for her is Amanda Lemos. Really? The person who's 1 spot below her. She's coming off a win against Mackenzie Dern back in February. Maybe the timing-wise could work out for that fight. Both girls are pretty good on the feet. You've got Amanda Lemos, who's very rangy. She's got quite a bit of power to her punches. So, maybe, perhaps, this could be a redemption fight for Lemos. Because, of course, she fell short against Andrade, and she fell short against the champion as well. So, yeah, I think to make it 2-0, I think Yan Xiaonan's a good fight for her. But Yan Xiaonan's very technical, She's going to be moving a lot in that fight, and she's going to be very difficult to tag, I think, for Lemos. So, and then to sound off the strawweight division, I think this sends Jessica Andrade back to flyweight in a lot of ways, because who else is she going to fight? She could fight Verena Jandiroba. I don't know if they've fought before. But, I think Jessica Andrade's pretty much fought everybody in this rankings. So, can Weili cope with the weight above? Can Weili cope in the weight above? That's a good question, George Murray, actually. I mean, if she beats Tatiana Suarez, there's nothing left for her. Do a super fight. I think we wanted to see her in a super fight for some time now. Taylor Young says, I don't see Weili losing anytime soon. Yeah, it's pretty hard, but I think Tatiana Suarez is the toughest test. Top 5 in flyweight in grapplers. Oh, is that Weili? Potentially. If I look at it now, yeah. I mean, Erin Blanchfield's a big one, but I think that'd be a really good one, Weili Zhang, Erin Blanchfield. But Zhang would piece her up on the feet. I mean, really. Grasso's grappling's not so bad, but she's probably going to rematch Valentina Shevchenko anyway. So time will tell. Time will tell, guys. All right, excellent stuff in the chats. You've been absolutely awesome thus far. And we're going to be moving on now to the main event. That was Alex Pereira picking up the knockout win against Jamal Hill. Look, I'm not surprised by this at all. Not surprised. The fact that he did the no, bro, let me cook to Herb Dean was pretty unreal. And then landed that left hook straight after was, mate, absolute scenes. But one thing I've seen on social media today is people have noticed, as you can see via the picture there, that he stands on Jamal's heel before landing that left hook, I think. Is that a tactic? Because apparently people do it in kickboxing, I've heard. So, look, I'd have to go back to the tape against the Sean Strickland fight to see if he does the same thing. I don't know, man. That could be something. Taylor Young says Zhang is better striker than the grapplers and a better grappler than the strikers. Not bad. George Murray says Erin's striking is poor. Weili was smasher. Yeah, I'm afraid I couldn't see it as well. Sharma Red Wolf. Sharma to you, brother. But then Alex Pereira, the only real option then left for him in the division is got to be Magomed Ankalaev at the moment, right? That's pretty much the hottest challenge and probably arguably the biggest challenge for him, Do you guys think that Magomed Ankalaev is the toughest challenge for Pereira at light heavyweight at the moment? Because I certainly think it that way. I mean, he's coming off of a knockout win against Johnny Walker back in January. He's the number 2 guy just behind Yuri now. Yuri's moved up to number 1 spot since Jamal Hill lost there. Ankalaev versus Yuri would be a fun one if Pereira was to do other things. But something that I can tell you now is I don't think that we will see Tom Aspinall fight Alex Pereira anytime soon. Because I was told something this past weekend, which I'm not allowed to share with you guys, and I think you guys are going to love it. All I can say is Aspinall's got a fight book. He's got a fight booked, and I know who it is. And to be honest, it's co-main event worthy. Not co-main event worthy, main event worthy. That's all I'm going to say for now. So yeah, I can't see Pereira moving up to heavyweight. I think he will defend his belt again before that's even an option. Plus, heavyweight's too chocker at the moment. We will still need to see Jones Miocic play out, unless that plays out and both guys retire in the octagon that same night. Then maybe that does open the door for Alex Pereira. But I think we're way off until we see anything like that just yet. Making the walk MMA. Yes, my brother. Good to see you back in the chats, my man, who says, I think he ended up on his foot because of how he methodically closed the range. Just a byproduct of his brilliance in getting to that left hook. And yeah, footwork placement is key there. George Murray says, how did Alex get his black belt? No sub wins ever. Yeah, do you know what? I also saw on social media today that Demetrius Johnson is a brown belt. And he's got like 13 submission wins in MMA. So how that makes sense, I don't know. Maybe the fact that Pereira trains more in a gi than Mighty Mouse. Maybe Mighty Mouse doesn't really train in a gi. I think that might have something to do with it. Taylor Young says, I doubt the foot would have made a difference. You can tell Alex lost respect for Hill's power and skills very early on. Yeah, he set up that left hook up nicely. You know, we kind of said it in the breakdown. It's the low kicks are just absolutely hideous, and people just haven't got the right answer for them. Taylor Young says Alex stops Ank pretty quickly. I mean, I hope he does, but it's the toughest test though, right? George Murray says Taylor, I disagree. Magomed will grapple the nuts. Yeah. Taylor Young reckons, I reckon Aspinall fights Curtis Blades. Okay, interesting, very interesting. My lips are sealed. Sai says, yeah, Ankalaev is a problem. Red Wolf says, it's a perfect tactic. Yes, Pereira versus Ankalaev is the one to make. Yuri versus Hill would be a great one and has been another one we've been waiting for. Yeah, gotta agree with that one. Jamal Hill actually called out Yuri via a tweet because he tweeted, I dared to be great against adversity and against a great challenge and came up short at the highest level in the world. I answered the call twice on short notice to fight for a championship that most will never fight for. On to the next, and he tags Yuri in and says, least final make it happen. So yeah, I think that's probably the best option right now for Jamal Hill, right? Because Yuri's come off an impressive win. He's the number one ranked guy. They've not fought before. If Jamal Hill wants to get himself back in there, you got to be the number one guy. And you know, he makes a case. He does make a case for that. So why not? Smart call out from Jamal Hill. Yuri's his game as they come. Yuri didn't seem very pleased with his performance against Rakic. I think it was a good showing, to be honest. You know, Rakic is a tough kickboxer, man, and I thought that was probably the toughest fight to call out of the whole card, to be honest. So, you know, it is what it is. Taylor Young says, honestly, George, I'm pretty confident Alex is stopping Ankalaev. Ankalaev is so vulnerable to leg kicks. Yeah, he can dish him out as well, let's forget. So, time will tell. George says 304 Manchester, Leon versus Bilal and Tom versus Blades. Well, I guess one thing that I could probably tell you is Leon, it's going to be a pay-per-view event. It's going to be a pay-per-view event. That's all I'm going to say for now. George says, I think Rakic will give Alex a decent fight, but he needs a solid win in top 5. Yeah, I've got to agree with you, man. Like, admittedly, looking at that fight with Yuri at the weekend, I felt that if Rakic should get a decent enough win there, he could very well make a big claim, and stylistically would be a much more fun fight for Pereira. And of course, it keeps that division ticking. You'd have a bit of a queue forming at light heavyweight. So other than that, you know, He's already beaten Jan, who's number 4. Beat Jamal Hills at 3. Beat Yuri Uzin at 1. So, you know, time will tell. But Alex Pereira is taking guys out at light heavyweight. He really is. George Murray says top 3 light heavy is different breed to top 5 from... I think you meant to say middleweight. Is it saying middleweight? I can't see that button there. Yeah, for Magomed. Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree with you, man. Yeah, true that. I think it means for middleweight. All right, excellent stuff, you guys, as always. But yeah, I think Jamal Hill, Yuri makes sense. Pereira versus Ankalaev is next on the agenda. Let's take us back then to the main screen. Don't forget to hit a like on the video and get in the comments if you're tuning into this the next day and you're not in the live chats, of course. All comments are welcome. We'll try and get back to as many as possible. George Murray says Magomed is clear favourite, other than that light heavyweight is going to be stuck if Alex stays champ, to be honest. Sharma. Gotta agree with George there. Gotta agree with George. All right, guys. Amazing stuff as always. I need to get some sleep right now. I've got an early start tomorrow. But make sure you hit the notifications bell on the channel as always, because you never know what could be coming your way with this channel. We've got lots and lots coming as always. No watch along this weekend, unfortunately. But, of course, you know, keep sticking around. There could be much more coming your way. Next event is going to be... Isn't it Fight Night? Sure, I've actually forgotten. The posters are in the drive, but I can't actually remember what they were. What is the next fight? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Nickal versus Perez. That's it. Not a bad card, to be honest. Ryan Spann against whoever that is. Tim Means, Urus Medic, Ronnie Yaya, Victor Henry, Dontel Mays. Okay. So, I mean, look, we're going to get some lackluster fight nights. But look, never sleep on the fight nights, as we like to tell people, because you never know. We might get some banging fights on there. So make sure that you stick around. And, of course, you know, keep watching the sport. Keep in tune. All right. Amazing stuff, guys. Much love. And we'll see you later on, as always. Ciao for now. No.